Welcome everybody to the webinar tonight. I'm Trevor. I'm going to be presenting, and we are moving into the next part of this marketing series that we're doing. This is going to be specifically about on-page or on-site optimization. So in other words, once you have your keyword list, like we've been working on the last couple of weeks, and even if you don't have it completely done, you can actually get started on what we're going to do tonight, which is basically the application of all those keywords you've been working on, and we're gonna bring them into certain sections of the site. I'm not going to show you everything tonight. I'm going to show you one specific section that I want you guys to learn and learn extremely well, and that's the category section. So we're going to do an example together. I'm going to show you a pretty well done version of optimization done on a category page. And again, just to define that, when I'm talking about optimization, I'm saying we're taking one of those target phrases that you guys have been working on for weeks, right? We've been using Moz tools, we've been organizing with a spreadsheet, and we're taking those individual keywords and we're working them into the content of our site. Because we need to make sure that we show Google and all the other search engines what our site is relevant to, so that it has the possibility of getting pulled up when somebody does a keyword search. That's what optimization is. So optimization or search engine optimization, this is sort of like on-site optimization. This is stuff that we can do on the website itself to actually to work on getting rankings. So that's the introduction. Let me get right in. Again, we've got Uptown Pearl on the screen right now. They're going to be our guinea pig for tonight. I've been doing a little bit of optimization to show you guys. Specifically, we're probably going to do, at least I'm going to show you using the earrings page. And then I've done an example here on the bracelets page. So we're going to start there, just so I can show you kind of a completed example. Okay, so let's go to bracelets real quick, and you can see what this page looks like. Actually, before I show you this page, let me show you a page that has no optimization done on it, and this is typically what you see on a lot of e-commerce sites. Okay, you get to a category page like this, and this specific site only has 3 categories. It's bracelets, earrings, and necklaces. If we had subcategories, these same principles would apply to those. Many of you guys I know have a bunch of these top-level categories as well as subcategories. So again, this applies to all of these pages that we want to see get some decent rankings. So typically, like I was saying, in e-commerce, a lot of times you have a page that looks like this, and you scroll down on it, all it has is product images like this. And you can see, you know, we've got a bunch of necklaces. We scroll down, and that's the page. Okay. The problem with this page is unless you've done some optimization on it, the search engine knows very little about what this page actually is. Just doesn't have a lot of content here. Yeah, it shows a lot of pictures, but search engines don't even know anything about these pictures. All they know when they look at this page is that these are pictures. They don't know what they're pictures of, though. And so if a search engine is reading this page right now, they probably know it's an e-commerce page because they're seeing prices and pictures, and they don't really know anything else other than that. It's just got a bunch of these pictures listed. And a page like this really struggles to get rankings. Now, the counter argument to that is I get a lot of clients that are like, well, Trevor, have you ever gone to a big time e-commerce site? Like, let me show you an example. How about the site Overstock? They're actually a local company. You guys have probably heard of Overstock. They're local to us out here in Utah. They're based out of Salt Lake City. But a pretty big, successful e-commerce site, right? If you actually went into one of their categories, let's go to their necklaces category, sort of at random here. You'll notice that their category page is much like ours. It just has a bunch of pictures, and it has your product titles and prices, but this is really no different than the one I've got. It's just got a lot more product on it. But see, they can get away. They've done a little bit of optimization. They can get away with doing things a little bit differently because they have such brand equity and Overstock. Like Overstock.com is a very trusted name within Google. So what's interesting is whenever Overstock produces a brand new page on the internet, it generally ranks pretty high just because it's Overstock and Google trusts it. Whereas when I get out into the jewelry industry and I'm trying to get Uptown Pearl to rank for something, and I've got this brand new necklaces page, I'm not naturally going to rank high. I've got to do a lot of work. I've got to do some optimization. So that's kind of what this is all about. Specifically, what we do to this page is what I want to show you tonight. So, let me show you a completed page that's got SEO done on it. So again, this is the incomplete page. This is more of a complete page. I'm going to click on bracelets and show you what this looks like. Okay, so one thing you'll notice at least is there's a paragraph here at the top. Telling a little bit about the site. We'll read that in just a second. And then when you scroll down on the page, we've added a bunch of content here below. All of this. Then we've got a free shipping banner here, and then down into our footer. Now, I treat these pages like they're going to be the first page a lot of people see when they find Uptown Pearl, because they will be. You got to remember, when somebody does a search in Google, it's not always going to be your homepage that they find first. There's a good chance that somebody does a search for something related to pearl bracelets, and my site comes up, and this is the page that shows up in Google. And so when they get here, this could be the very first page of the site that they see. And I've got to make sure when I get that visitor here, I convert that visitor into a sale. Okay. So these are some of the visible changes you can see that I've made. It's more about just adding content to the page, right? Big paragraph up here, a paragraph below, or several paragraphs below. There's no set amount of content you have to have. I like to try to get maybe around 500 words if I can. That's no rule or anything, but it's cool if you have 500 words on each one of your category pages. More if it's relevant and you feel like it needs to have more. Less if you know your content's turning into crap because you can't think of anything else to write. But 500 words is kind of a good baseline to start with. But those are the only things that you guys can sort of visibly see here on the category. There's a lot of work behind the scenes that's in the code that's been done to help this page rank higher in Google. So first of all, you guys will remember from last time, usually we have a target keyword phrase that we're trying to get a page to rank for. In this case, based on my research in the Moz tool and some of the keyword research that we've all talked about, my target phrase for this category is pearl bracelets. Okay? That's my target phrase. I can't remember off the top of my head what the numbers were, but they're pretty solid. I might have it noted right here. No, I actually don't. I'm not sure what the numbers were, but it was, just to give you an idea, it was in the 30 percentile in as far as the competition percentage goes in Moz, and then it was a pretty high volume score. So this would be a money keyword phrase if I could rank for it. So I've done a lot here to try to optimize for it. So in Volusion, that's the builder I'm using right now, and a lot of you guys use Volusion as a web builder as well. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to manage my store. I guess there's a couple of different ways that you can edit a category, but I'm going to come over here to inventory, and then I'm going to select categories right here. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. And by the way, as we're talking here, seriously, ask questions as we go if something's not making sense. Because if you've got a question, there's a good chance that other people do as well. Okay, so I've got my categories listed. I'm going to edit this bracelets page right here. I'll just come over here and hit this edit button. And that's going to take me to the edit page for bracelets. Now, the other way that's often a little bit faster, if I'm out here on my store like this, I just clicked on the view store icon up here at the top. If I go to my bracelets page, I can come up here to the top under Edit and select Edit this category right here. And that takes me into the same spot, okay? So 2 ways to find the same area, whatever you prefer. So here we are, we're in the edit screen for this category. I'm gonna show you where and what SEO has been completed, okay? And I'm just gonna take you through a list of things, and you guys can make this list as we're talking. The first thing I'm gonna talk about is what's called the meta title. Now, some of you guys may have heard of the meta title. Maybe one of you guys who is here with me, what's the meta title? Somebody who might know. It's something that you often hear about when we talk about internet marketing. I'm just curious if anybody here really knows what that is and what function it serves. I'll just wait for a couple. There's a couple answers already in, but I'll just wait for a couple more. And if you don't know, don't feel bad. It may not be something you and your coach have talked about yet. Okay, so I'm going to read you a couple of the answers I've got. Oh, by the way, I need to show you where the meta tag title is. It's under search engine optimization right here under advanced info. So we go to search engine optimization, and then it's right here, meta tag title. Here, just so you guys know, you put in your main keyword phrase. That's at least one of the rules. Put in your main keyword phrase. There's a couple other things that can apply, but that's certainly where your main keyword phrase goes. Now, Marla, you just said that the meta tag title shows up in Google, which is exactly right. Whatever you put here is actually that blue line of text that shows up in Google search results. I'll show you guys an example of that here in just a second. Now, in the same breath, does it show up on the site itself? And the answer is no. So, like if you're looking at a given web page on the internet, you can't, as a visitor to the page, you can't usually see what the meta title is. It's not displayed on the page at all. It's in the code. Google sees it, and people who are using Google will see it in search results, but that's just about it. And Stephanie, you just said the same thing. Is it the title that shows up in Google search? And it is. If we don't put in a meta title on this page, Google's going to try to put one in themselves. And we don't want that, because we want to tell Google what our page is about to help our search engine rankings. Laura, let me read your comment, because this is good. You say the meta title is basically your target phrase, right? Which is true. My target phrase is pearl bracelet. That is out for everyone to see, something for Google to pick up quickly. Hope that makes sense. That does make sense. So you guys are all right on. Let's look at an example, just what it might look like in Google, okay? I'm going to use an example of one of my other sites because I know my Uptown Pearl site isn't ranking very well. So I'm going to type in Mockingjay, or let's do gold Mockingjay pin, because I know I'm ranking for that. Okay, here I am right here. This right here is the meta title for that specific page. Okay? It's the blue link. Now if I clicked on this, right, it's going to take me to that specific page of my site. This being the gold Mockingjay pin page. Okay? So, and then you'll see underneath it, if I go back to the search results, you've got the URL of the page, that's the web address, and then you've also got a little description of the page right there. Okay? So when we talk about meta, this right here is the meta title, this right here is the meta description. Okay? So if I go back here to my category, I want to define to Google what's going to be in that title, and really I've got to do 2 things. I need to make sure my target keyword phrase is here, which it is. And then I like, if I can, I like to have a little bit of a promotion something to sort of get you to want to click on that link, because people are going to see that in Google. They're going to see it surrounded by other websites. So if I can have something that's sort of promotional or would help get a click, sometimes I'll put it there. In this case, because I offer free shipping on this site, that's what I put. Pearl bracelet, free shipping. And I'm hoping that's going to be enough to get you to click on it once it shows up in Google results. Okay? I put one of these little bars here. I mean, you don't necessarily have to put a vertical bar. You could put like a comma or a dash or whatever. Any of that's just fine. But that's what I put here for the meta title. Now, I want to do a meta description as well. Oh, by the way, before I move out of meta title, just so you know, 55 characters is about all you ever want to do. I would never go any more than that. 55 characters or less. And if you want to know where your character count is at, just go here to wordcounter.net and copy in your title. This title right here, as you guys can see, is 31 characters, so it definitely falls within that parameter. Okay? So 55 or less, that's kind of what we're shooting for. Okay. Can everybody hear me okay? Araceli, you said you lost me for a second. Is my audio okay for everybody else? Just give me some feedback. I just want to make sure that it is. Okay, so meta title, let me know if you've got questions about that. It's pretty self-explanatory for the most part. All right, so let's back up. Let's go here and let's look at the meta tag description of this page. Okay, here it is. Just right underneath it in Volusion, you can put in a meta tag description. Now, the rule is let's shoot for about 155 characters or less. Okay? So we've got 55 for the title, 155 for the meta tag description. Now, the meta tag description is this area right here. So you've got more room to sort of talk about what the page is about. Google actually looks at the title and description pretty heavily when they're ranking sites. These need to be done very, very well because there's a lot of weight put on it. So be sure that you take some time and really write something compelling. I mean, remember, I may be ranking #1 right here for this specific keyword search, but I've got Amazon just behind me. I've got Sears just under me. I've got eBay just under me. I've got a Facebook page just under me. People can click on any of these. And so I want to make sure when somebody sees this page of listings that people aren't clicking on me just because I'm #1, but people are clicking on me because I have a compelling message there. So you'll see in the description, this is what I write. I say, introducing a line of truly beautiful, classy, real freshwater cultured pearl bracelet. And you'll notice pearl bracelet is exactly the same keyword phrase. That's my target phrase, and I'm using that one in the meta title. So it's used once in the title. Generally, it's used once there in the description. It says perfect for weddings and casual dress, fast and free shipping. Okay. I'm trying to create something that's going to make somebody want to click on it. If you click on or you do a search for pearl bracelet, I want my description to sell you a little bit. I want it to sell you because I really need your click, right? I want you to get into my site. And if I've got something kind of boring or just just generally not very compelling, there's a good chance that they don't click on me. They may click on my competitor that's got some sort of more compelling marketing message right there. So it's pretty important stuff. I mean, it should be something you take some time to really think about. The rule is you got to make sure you use your target phrase in each one of those sections. Okay? Those are called your meta tags. And again, not something I see on the page itself. It's just in the code and just shows up in Google. All right, so questions about that, guys? Go ahead and put questions in the box there about meta tags. I'm going to move on to what's called the category URL text right here. Okay, so category URL text. That's basically you're telling Google, or I'm sorry, you're not telling Google. You're telling your site to put the words pearl bracelet, which is my target keyword phrase, into the actual web address of the page. Okay, let me show you what I mean. So I've typed it in here, just pearl space bracelet. Don't do any caps. Don't put any dashes or underscores. Just pearl space bracelet. And then if you come onto my store here and click bracelets, if I come up here and look in the URL, I know that's probably kind of hard to see. I'm going to see if I can zoom in. No, it won't let me zoom in on that. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. I'm going to read it anyway. It says www.uptownpearl.com/pearl-s/1819.html. That's my URL for this page. Had I not put in Pearl Bracelet there, the Volusion builder and most web builders will just put in something general. For example, if I click on the necklaces page just really quick, and I look at the URL here, it doesn't have anything specific. It just says category as part of the URL. So when Google actually looks at your URL, and if you're using your target phrase within the URL, there's a better chance they're going to consider your page to be relevant for whatever the keyword phrase search is. Okay, your URL shows up on the page, and it's going to show up, or on a page of search results, it'll show up right underneath the title. So in this specific example, you'll see Gold Mockingjay pin is actually in my URL. Okay, I want that because that's going to help me be just a little bit more relevant, to the search, so that I'm getting pulled up higher and higher based on being extremely relevant for Pearl Bracelet. Okay, now let me look at some of your questions really quick. Hold on just a sec. Let me open up your guys' questions. I'm going to get back to that page that I was on just a second ago, where we're editing the bracelets page. Search engine optimization is where we were. Okay. So, Catherine, you asked what the percentage is that it shows up here. The percentage, I think, is the amount of text they'll actually allow you to put in. But we don't really go by these guidelines. We follow the 55-character rule and the 155-character rule. So what you're seeing here, this is a Volusion thing, but it's not sort of an SEO best practices thing. So I wouldn't pay any mind to those percentages. That's the 12% you guys can see here, and then the 57% you guys can see underneath the description. Lori says, do you just do the meta tag title per page or per item? It's per page, Lori. So every single page on your site, well, I should correct myself. Every single page of your site that you would like to see rank high in Google, you probably want to create a meta tag for, a meta tag title for. Would you want to do this for like your shipping page? Probably not. You probably wouldn't do it for your About Us page, but you would definitely do this for your home page, your category pages, and each product page, because each of those individual products are their own pages. Each category is its own page, so you need to make sure to do it for every single one of those. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. So that's the URL. We call it a search engine friendly URL. If you're taking the time to use your target phrase there, you're just going to be that much more relevant for what you're trying to get rankings for, okay? Now let me move over to the content of the page. This is kind of the behind the scenes stuff that people aren't seeing, but we need to actually work on the content of the page itself. Now, if I view this page again, when I'm talking content, I'm definitely talking about the written material that's here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see this better. Hopefully that's a little bit more clear. I actually did a character count on this just before we did the webinar, and I'm at almost just exactly 500 characters. So you guys can see with this paragraph here at the top, and then if I scroll down on my page and with these additional paragraphs here below, that's about 500 characters. But again, guys, it's not like that's some sort of magic amount. The hard thing is it's hard to know exactly how much content you should have. Most people who are doing category pages, when asked exactly how much written content should you have with your products, the answer is whatever you think customers would find valuable. So that could be a few hundred or a few hundred words. That could be much more. You just want to have some valuable content. You really actually don't want it to be a bunch of fluff if you can avoid it. You'd rather it be promotional material, stuff that talks a little bit more about what your page is about. So I mean, I'll just read you this introductory paragraph here at the top, so you guys can get an idea of what you might put here. Now, here's my one caveat: when users are finding this page, you guys can imagine, I mean, how many people are actually going to read this material, right? Like, imagine you shopping for a necklace right now. You find this page, you're probably scrolling right down and looking at the product images, right? Wouldn't you say that's probably accurate? Most people don't really read this stuff in detail. They might skim through it a little bit, and some people may read it completely, but there's a good chance that they won't. But we still put it there anyway because we need some written content for the search engines to chew on a little bit, and we need to give ourselves an excuse to use that target phrase in the content of the page. So here we go. So here's a title right here, Pearl Bracelets. This actually should say, and I'm going to edit this, it should say Pearl Bracelet, singular, because that's what we're targeting here. So let me just delete this S out. Pearl Bracelet and Pearl Bracelets in the eyes of a search engine are different terms, and my target is the singular, so I need to stick with that. Okay, so back out to the page here. So we've got that title, Pearl Bracelet. That's called an H tag. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. There's the title, and then we go into the paragraph, and this is how it reads. It says, "We proudly present our complete line of classic Uptown Pearl bracelets." Now you too can own a truly iconic pearl bracelet, and you'll notice that right there is bolded, and that's my target keyword phrase. That is sure to impress. Ours are classy enough to be worn at the most formal event, while at the same time versatile enough for any casual look. Whether you're heading to a wedding or just running errands for the day, an Uptown Pearl bracelet will be sure to enhance your wardrobe. Please note that our pearls are real, cultured, freshwater pearls. That's right, real. So wear something both beautiful and authentic, and buy one of our pearl bracelets today. There's my content. So it's very sort of cheesy and promotional, and that's kind of what we want it to be. And we want it to highlight some of the high points of what your page is all about. We tried to highlight the fact that our pearl bracelets are actually real. This isn't fake stuff. These aren't fake pearls. They're real freshwater pearls. And so we highlighted that point there. So if somebody did read this and wanted to learn more about these necklaces, they would have a pretty good idea of at least that they're done by Uptown Pearl, and they're actually real pearl bracelets, okay? But you'll also notice that we used our keyword phrase a couple of times here. Pearl bracelet was used there. In fact, if I do a search on the page, I don't know if you guys ever do this. You can do a Control F, or if you're on a Mac, you can do a Command F, and I can type in pearl bracelet, and it'll actually show me how many times it's used. It's used right here in the title. It's used plural a couple of times, but that's just naturally used in the content. You can see it's used exactly as pearl bracelet twice in this paragraph otherwise, okay? And then as you scroll down to the bottom of the screen, we have a lot more content listed here. Now, the reason why we don't just have a giant paragraph at the top is if we did that, it would push the products clear down the page and potentially hurt our conversion rate. Because when I get somebody here, I want them to actually see my product, right? That's essentially what I'm trying to get them to do, is click on one of these products. So I give a little bit of information at the top, but not too much, because I want these products to still show up. And then I really unload on a lot more additional content right down here in this secondary section, okay? So if I do another Control Find and I do pearl bracelet. I'm going to come on down, and you're going to see it's used again here in that secondary title. And then it's used here in that paragraph once. It's used again in this title. Again and again and again. You can see it's used 3 or 4 times. So the idea with when you're writing content is it kind of gives you an excuse to use your keyword phrase throughout the content. But you guys don't want to use it too much. I think this is probably borderline too much. I should probably maybe pull one of these out because it just, I don't know, when you look at it and you read through it, if it sounds like it's being used too much, it's probably being used too much. There's no definitive number or percentage of times you should use your target phrase in your content. The rule and the guidance that Google gives us is just that we should use it where it's natural. You shouldn't really try to input it too much. So keep that in mind. I'm never going to say 10% of your content should be your keyword phrase, or 3% of your content should be your keyword phrase. I'm just going to tell you, use it naturally throughout and try not to use it too much. That's a good rule of thumb. Additionally, guys, this content is it's not copied from anywhere. Okay, this is all uniquely written content. It's made up, in other words. So we didn't go to another site and copy and paste anything. We sat down and wrote this content ourselves. And, 500 words of uniquely written content takes some time to write. I'm not sure that to do optimization on this page really well, it probably took me, 45 minutes after I had picked my target phrase and did all these things that we're talking about. But the writing of the content took me the most time. So, it's something you guys can maybe potentially hire out if you're not big into writing. You can certainly hire out content creation. There's different. This isn't really the place to talk about that, but there are places that you can get it for a relatively low cost. If you can write it yourself, I would at least advise you guys at the start to write it yourself, because it just makes a lot of sense to do that, just so you can at least learn the SEO. Okay, so like I said, though, 500 words, that's not the magic number. That's just what's used here. Just make sure your content actually has some substance to it. We talk here about, you can see some of the titles. We talk about like a pearl bracelet for all occasions, like when it's appropriate to wear it, because we want people that shop our site to know that it's not just for some sort of formal dressy event. It's for any occasion. You can wear pearls casually, or you can wear them for formal events, but we want everybody to buy them. That we actually have a pearl bracelet for newborns, and so we put a little clause here at the bottom about it. What it is and why it's so great, and then we put a little clause here at the bottom for the fact that they're handmade and they're unique. It's not something that you can just buy at a department store. This is handmade, really nice stuff. So we like to talk about this. So it's a way we want to put content in onto this page that sells our product and hits the high points of what we want people to know. And chances are people probably don't read this as much, but if they do read it, it's going to be helpful to help close a sale, and Google appreciates all this content that we put onto the page. Okay. Now, before I go on, I've got a bunch of questions here. Let me get to those first, and then we'll continue. Let me just read a couple of these. Okay. Okay, Linda asks, so I need a page for outdoor, kitchen, wind chimes, and for each of those categories, I need a meta tag title. That's true. So however you categorize your site, in my case, it's just bracelets, necklaces, and earrings. We need meta tags for each. In fact, we need all of this SEO that we're doing for each of those types of pages. Catherine caught a typo. Well, that's why we invite you to these things, Catherine. I knew you would probably catch something like that. You say I've got 4 FORE. I'll fix that. I appreciate that. James asks, can you refresh how you get to the place to enter the content? Yeah, that's a good point. Let me show you guys who are using Volusion how to actually get your content in these same kinds of places. So let me zoom out for a second just so I can see a little bit better. And let me go to, I'm going to edit this category. It's right here under Advanced Info and Category Descriptions. You're going to want to put this category description right here is at the very top. It's above your products, and this one right here is below your products. This one here in the middle, leave blank. Okay, that's where you put those. And just to show you guys, I told you guys about the H tag. This right here isn't just a bold, bigger text formatted keyword phrase. This is actually a very specific classification of text. It's called an H tag or a heading tag. And the way I created it was I just highlighted it. I went to this symbol right here, the formatting symbol, and I selected header 1. Okay, that's an H1 tag. And if a search engine saw it, which I'll show you here, this is the HTML of the page, or at least the HTML of this little section. You can see here, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so it's a little easier for you guys to see. This right here, this little H1, that's called an H tag. That's what the search engine sees when they're actually looking at my content right here. Okay, and that means that it's a heading tag. It's something that's a little more important. So if I use my main keyword phrase in that H tag, it basically tells the search engine that that's a very important part of the page and to take it into consideration. So I use a couple of H tags. I use an H1 tag here for my main keyword phrase. I used another, I think this is actually an H2 tag. The way it should work is an H1 is your most important, used towards the top of the page. And then as you get lower and lower, as the headings get smaller or less important, you can change them to like an H2 or an H3 or an H4. All that stuff's not that important. As long as you have like one good H tag, maybe an H2, which is what this would be, that's good enough. And I've got my main keyword phrase used there. So those are heading tags. We like to of course have you try to use that as you're building out content. Okay. Okay. Another little piece to this puzzle is you'll notice I have an image on this page. This right here is an image, and then down here, this right here is an image. This is just an image we created. I suppose you could write out free shipping in text like this, but we designed out a nice banner that looks good. The thing is Google can't really tell what this is. When they look at the code, all they know is that it's a picture, but they don't know what it's a picture of. So it's a good idea when you're in Volusion to edit it. So if I just click on it and click edit, it'll bring up this little pop-up right here, and I can type in a title for that image to tell Google what it is. And I just called it what it is. It's a free shipping pearl bracelet banner. But you'll notice there, guys, how I strategically worked in my target keyword phrase into an image. That's called alternative text or an alt tag. And you can use those alt tags to identify images on your page. I tend not to over-optimize though, guys. So like, I realize I have an alt tag or an image at the top of my page, and I have images all throughout, which are the product images. I don't necessarily put alt tags on every single one of those, but I do put them on a few. I'll show you guys how to do it on the product images here in a second. Okay, that's what an alt tag is. That'll show up in the text or the code of the page that the search engine sees. Okay. So if you've got a picture on your page, put in an alt tag. Let me go back and just show you one other piece of this. If I look at the bracelets page again, I've got all of these product pictures right here. You'll notice sometimes when you're on the internet, if you put your mouse on top of a picture and let it sit there, it actually shows what the alt tag is. Let me see if I can get it to do it again. Yeah, there you go. See that? Where it says pearl bracelet dash the tailor. Okay, that's an alt tag. I actually set up that alt tag by editing the product so that the product would actually show up with pearl bracelet, which is my target phrase for this page. And I did that by just editing the product. So I'm going to go here, edit this product. And under your advanced info, under the product editing screen, I'm going to find the alt text right here. And that's where I put in pearl bracelet strategically, so because I knew it would pop up on that page. I want that alt tag to help out with my SEO. I actually only did that on 1 or 2 of the products though. So keep that in mind, guys. You don't alt tag everything. We call that over optimizing when you get too crazy with all of this. Like, this is really just a piece of the puzzle. You're trying to get your page to become relevant for that target phrase. But if you're using your target phrase an unnatural amount of times in the content, so it's used over and over and over again in the text, and it's every single image has that same alt tag, and you've got it in the meta tags a bunch, and you've got it in the URL, and you're doing all these things, but you're doing it too much, and you're thinking about it too much. You're going to over optimize, and it could potentially hurt you as opposed to help you. So, guys, just make sure you do these things, but don't get too aggressive. I don't want to see a page of content with 500 words that has your keyword phrase used in it 25 times. That's unnatural. It would be odd to read something like that, because I would find myself repeating the same keyword phrase over and over again. And I can guarantee you guys, when Google crawls this page and studies it, they're going to think the same thing. They're going to think that you use your keyword phrases way too much. They're going to think that you're trying to trick them, and they're probably going to hurt your ranking. They may even purposely pull you down in the rankings, if that makes sense. So you want to do all of this, but you want to be careful about it. Don't do it too much. One other element of this optimization that I want to share with you guys, and then we'll kind of talk about it generally for just a second, is you'll notice that in my content here, and I'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see this, but I actually link out to other pages of my site. So, for example, right here where it says it's not difficult to see why Uptown Pearl has such a great reputation, right? Uptown Pearl right here, if I click on that, that would actually link over to the homepage. Okay? Just because that makes sense. Uptown Pearl, link it to the homepage. If somebody wants to click and see the homepage, they can. Or right here where it says the perfect gift for a newborn, we're talking about one of our products called the Delilah. That's this right here. Well, we made it link. So it says if you're shopping on a budget, consider the Delilah, and this is linked to that individual product, one of our most popular pearl bracelets. And then we talk about it a little more, and then we have another link that says check it out today. Okay? And then up here at the very top, we talked about just cultured pearls in general, the fact that they're real pearls, and then we say right here in smaller text, please note, and this is Catherine, this is where you caught that typo, but it says FORE, it should say FOR, for more information on our freshwater cultured pearls, see this. If I click on this little see this, it actually opens up a new tab and takes me over to this Wikipedia page on cultured freshwater pearls. Okay, we do that just because we want our content to link out a little bit, and it's okay for it to link out. We want to link to appropriate products when we talk about it. We want it to link out to appropriate informational pages. That's a good thing, and Google actually follows those links. And if you've got a bunch of pages on your site that are linking to various places, it makes your site easier to use for the user. And then Google also appreciates that because they know where all of those links are, and they appreciate the fact that you're linking to these different places. So it's always wise to link to places where appropriate. Now, sometimes there's not a reason to link anywhere, and that's okay too. Don't create a link. But if it makes sense, and you're talking about one of your specific products on your category page in your content here, just like we are with the Delilah, go ahead and link there. That actually doesn't hurt your SEO at all. It helps it. Okay, so guys, in a nutshell here, before I get to more of your questions, when we talk about optimizing a category page for e-commerce, What you guys ought to do is you should do the meta title, like we did, the meta description. You should do H tags, like I showed you guys how to do. You should do an SEO-friendly URL. You should write unique, interesting, and helpful content. It should never, ever be copied. And it should contain your keyword phrase throughout, your target keyword phrase. And where appropriate, you should link and also use alt tags. If you guys will apply those principles to your category pages, I promise you they will be very relevant to that target phrase. I'm using pearl bracelet throughout all of that stuff right there. And I know that when Google crawls this page and looks at it, they're going to say to themselves, I know exactly what this page is about. It's about pearl bracelet. And when somebody does a search for pearl bracelet, rest assured that because this page is so very relevant to it, I have a much better chance of pulling up high. Okay? And that's sort of half the battle. That's the whole reason why we spent all that time the last few weeks researching good keywords, so that I could take a good keyword that I feel like has some volume and doesn't have too much competition, and I've optimized a page for it. And my hope is that when somebody goes to Google and types in pearl bracelet, because of the work that I've done here, I have a really, really good chance of pulling up high. Okay? Now that's not the only thing you have to do to rank high, though, because this kind of stuff that I taught you today is something that's generally done throughout the search engine marketing world. You know, a lot of people who run businesses on the internet don't know this stuff, but a lot of people do. A lot of people are applying some of these very same principles that we're teaching you guys. And so, you know, since I've optimized this page well, I still might be competing with 45, 50, 100, 150 other pages that are very well optimized too. So then Google still has a choice to make. They still have to decide what page they should show up on their front page, because they can't show everybody. If there's 150 well-optimized pages, they may only be able to show, what, 10% of those? Less than that, 7% of those on the first page of Google. And so there's still more to the equation that we're going to talk about as the weeks go by. But this optimization is at least half of it, and if you guys do this well, you're going to give yourself a shot. Okay? All right, so I'm going to get off my soapbox for just a second. Let me get back to your guys' questions. Bill's got a comment here. He said, did you guys consider using a live wrist model and maybe a cell phone or casual wear and maybe a champagne glass for a more formal settings? Could even be combined with a nice watch, formal and casual. Just thinking. Yeah, I agree, 100%. I think we could present our product so much better than it is right now. Right now, we just have these generic shots of the product. In fact, I'll just click on this Taylor bracelet for just a second. And they're not bad. Here's just sort of like a general picture of it. And then we do have it on a wrist right here. You can kind of see this a little bit. But they're not great. What we really need is used in different settings. We need, you know, an attractive woman that's wearing kind of a classy dress that has these pearls on, right? And then we also need kind of a trendy girl, you know, maybe college age, that's wearing our pearls with kind of a trendy outfit. We actually really need that for our marketing, and I think it's going to help our business substantially when we get some of those pictures done. Unfortunately for us, because this is a product that we manufacture, we have to pay to get all those really nice images done, and that's not cheap. Whereas a lot of you guys who are working with like wholesalers and drop shippers who have professional images done, you're lucky because a lot of that hard work has already been done for you, which is good. Good thoughts, Bill. I appreciate that. Araceli asks, how did we add the free shipping banner? I assume, Araceli, you're probably talking about this one right here, this free shipping banner. So that was done by a graphic designer. It was custom made. It was made in a program called Photoshop. It can also be made in free. Photoshop's a very expensive program. You could make it in a free program called Pixlr, Pixlr.com. But that's graphic design work. Usually that's more reserved for, people who are really pretty polished in design. You can, with a little bit of training, you can get away with doing some of that kind of design yourself. And we may do some classes on that kind of thing here in the future. But as of right now, we don't have a lot of content on that. But I work with you, Araceli. We can talk about that together for sure. Stephanie asks, the optimization strategy you discussed today, does this apply to Google, Bing, and Yahoo alike? It really does, Stephanie. The funny thing is, whatever Google does, like whatever their policy is, Yahoo, Bing, they tend to copy it because it's always so effective. So if Google makes a change to their ranking formula, or like they're looking for certain things more than others, the other search engines tend to follow suit. So if you're ranking well in Google, chances are you're probably ranking well in Yahoo and Bing as well. These principles apply to everything. Good question. Laura has a comment. Would that apply towards my products, for example? With air guns, pellet guns, should I look for pictures with people using them? Yeah, I mean, I really would. I think in your space, Laura, being in like the, paintball, air guns, pellet guns sort of space, I think they can probably sell sitting as is. They don't necessarily need to be worn, but I certainly don't think it would hurt to get some better pictures like that if you can get them. They're not always way cost effective, but if you can get them, absolutely, for sure. Good questions, guys, and keep them coming. If some of you other guys have more, I've got just a couple more minutes where we can talk about some of this stuff. So, guys, this for some of you, this process that we went through tonight, this will be easy. You may not have a lot of category pages, which will make it nice. In my case, I don't have a lot of category pages. I'll easily be able to get this done in another hour and a half, 2 hours. For you guys that have more category pages, this is pretty substantial. And I'll tell you the most common complaint or concern I get with my clients is they're like, Trevor, wait a minute, like you're telling me I actually have to take this time and really add all this content and optimize each one of my pages? And the answer is, of course, yes. Like this is your business. This would be akin to if you owned a retail store. This would be akin to just making sure it's very clean and presentable. If you don't do that, people aren't going to come into your retail store. And in a similar way, if you're not optimizing your website like this, you're going to really lose customers. You really are. You're just not going to be as findable as you otherwise could be. Some sites don't, like I was telling you guys earlier, like Overstock, you don't see as much of like the written content on the pages because they have such trust and rapport with Google. They don't need all the extra little gimmicks. We do at this stage. We really do. So this stuff is all pretty necessary. And yeah, it's a whole ton of work. I definitely understand that. I've got some clients here that have many categories, 30, 40, 50, 60 categories. Would it be a lot of work to do this on every single one? Yeah, there's no question. You could be doing this for months, but that's okay. Because as I do this, I'm going to be putting myself in a better position to get found online. And I don't have many examples of clients who did this and weren't getting exposure. I mean, if you'll do things that other people aren't willing to do, you're going to put yourself in a better position. And this is one of those things. So I hope you guys can see the value behind this. This is only for categories, though. In subsequent weeks, we'll probably talk about your homepage, because this same principle applies to that. We'll talk about your individual product pages. And then we'll talk about other informational pages that you can apply these SEO tactics. This is on-site SEO that you guys are learning. And I'm telling you, you learn this skill and you apply it well, and it's going to make a huge difference for the business. All right, so I think that's probably enough. If you guys have more questions, contact your coach, of course. I'm going to answer just a couple more before we leave. For those of you guys who are watching the recording, we're gonna go ahead and end